Welcome to the Journeyman Cave, a podcast where we meet and chat with some of boxing's most seasoned road warriors, hosted by Mark Shakespeare and Chris Scarfe.
Welcome back to the Journeyman Cave, everybody, for round 62. And with me, as always, Mr. Mark Shakespeare. How are we?
Always good, bud.
Good. A little bit different this week. We like to do a few different bits here and there, don't we? Do you want to introduce him?
Yeah, we've got Obbo himself, Mark Hobson. Now, like you said, it's a bit different, and it goes against my grain. As you know, I love the underdog and I love the journeyman, and I'm not one for winning records. But I know me and you can both vouch saying we had quite a few people message us and ask us saying, "Oh, you should interview this guy, you should interview that guy," and even though they've got winning records, and Mark's one of these guys, you know, British Commonwealth and WBU Cruiserweight champion. I mean, he's amazing. What a record. It's something I thought, well, he's not really a journeyman. But people have been asking, and I think to myself, well, these guys have still got stories to tell. Mm-hmm. And nobody else is going to give these guys a platform to share their stories very much. And I find when we have been asking them, or when they've been asking them, they haven't really done a podcast before. So I just think, if we can get these guys on, and they're still, and this is a great interview, and it's something a little bit different, and I think it's something we'll do more in the future, but we'll always be for the journeyman, you know that, and we'll never ever go away from that.
As you said, we will always be for the underdog, for the journeyman, but there's no harm in having people like Mark on. They've got, like you say, great stories to tell, very grounded person, you know, there's no airs and graces. I really enjoyed talking to him. Yeah,
definitely, and we always put a journeyman twist on it as well, because obviously Mark, when he started his career, went with some classy journeymen, including the great Paul Bonson. You know, we like to talk about them as well, and we can mention them as well. And it were a great. I remember Mark when we used to go out as well, younger days. He were always fighting on Sky, and he was in some cracking fights. And yep, it's a great interview, and I think the listeners are going to enjoy this one.
Yeah, me as well. So let's get into it. Round 62 with Mark Hobson.
33 fights in total, 27 wins, 5 losses and 1 draw. It's some career, that, Mark.
Yeah, it's someone.
It really is,
someone I look back on. I can be proud of it. When I finished boxing, I didn't really talk about boxing. I put it in a box, put lid on, just left it. Went did other things in life. I stayed away from boxing, but I've just recently had all my belts. You've had them
all redone.
Had them restored. Put up on wall. They should be there at all. I've got my Lonsdale belt. I've got a nice WBU belt. Just recently had them done.
So you should, mate. You should.
Yeah,
you need to keep them memories, mate. You know what I mean? I remember, like I said, it gets mentioned a few times on podcasts, and I'll say it again. We used to go out on a Saturday night when Mark were around about that time. Not much older than we are. We used to go out on Saturday fight night and watch it in Isaacs, didn't we? See if Billy and Ernie Smith were on. They're always fighting every week on them Sky shows. Yeah. And like you said, at the time, BBC had it, didn't they, with David A. Yep. They had Carl Froch and that after that, BBC. ITV had it, didn't they?
Satanta came and went, box.
There were loads.
Box Nation. Mm-hmm. Do it. It's been a merry-go-round with them.
It is.
Then just after I was in boxing, I kind of with Matchroom, but it wasn't like the powerhouse it is now. It was Barry Earn. It was a few years after that, Eddie took over, did what he's done with boxing. I mean, he's turned boxing round, hasn't he?
Yeah,
he has. Yeah,
he has.
In fact, they've all started to come together now. It looks like boxing could become the sport again. If they do it, it's there. If you get all these fighters fighting each other, that's all we all ever wanted.
Yeah, it's like you said when you go back there. The best can't fight the best. When you in a cruiserweight, for example, you've got David A fighting on BBC, you've got you fighting on Sky, you've got Maccarinelli fighting on ITV. These matches can't be made. They're just too much hard work, isn't they? And all your lads want to do is just you all want to fight the best.
That's all I ever wanted to do, was like be involved in these big fights. That was all I was bothered about. I wanted to be in good fights that meant something to me. There were some fights where, for instance, when I won the Commonwealth title, I fought a guy called Abdul Kadu down in Bridgend, back arse ender, nowhere. And it was against a fight. I could have beaten him on my first day in that gym. And it meant nothing to me.
Yeah.
It's like, I wanted to I want to fight the best guys. See where you are. All right, if you lose, you lose. But let's see where you are in life. And it's learning. hey, there's nothing wrong with getting beat and having your ass handed to you and learning from it. I think that's all part of it. Like, people kind of miss that point that when I turned professional, I was never a finished article. I was learning on job. I was 21. I was a young kid. I had no man strength, no nothing. I've come through amateur. I'm not the greatest amateur in the world. I never won out as an amateur. Come through into professional boxing, it suited me more. The pace of professional boxing suited me better. I liked it. Never really thought I'd do what I did really, truthfully. Then you just keep winning. And then you get further on and it gets harder and harder and harder. And it just keeps going like that. And you eventually learn it. It took me so long to start. From day one, I was struggling to do 6 2-minute rounds. That was my first fight, 6-2s. That was difficult.
I noticed
I
that.
thought how could I do 12 threes? It took 6 years.
But I looked at your record to start with, Mark, and whoever were matching you up, matched you up well for your first few, mate, because there's a couple of lads on here, I'm going to first fight, from Birmingham, and that's someone, 21-year-old, that are starting, he's going to show you a couple of tricks at Bucky's, Michael. Yeah. I mean, I think he had 7 fights he did, and that was your debut in Bradford, won it, and, what do you reckon to him, mate? Did you teach you a thing or two, or was it a simple night's work in the end?
It was the first fight, so I've come out of amateur boxing where it seemed like everyone was, everything went at 100 mile an hour in amateur boxing, and I didn't like it. When I went into pros, it seemed to be a slower pace, especially the first few fights. It seemed like he could do more, but he wouldn't. And it was like an introduction into boxing. This is professional boxing. I got my first one like that with Bonson, but they come and they just turn up and they just give it you.
Yeah. So Pinnock just steady away. Then
but you've got to start somewhere.
I thought when I looked, first, I thought perfect opponent for you.
When I think back, like you're saying, they built me up perfect, So I had with my manager, Chris Aston, we were with John Salabansky down at Bradford. So my first fight was on Derek Roach, and when he beat Saunders from Barnsley, Chris Saunders. Chris
Saunders. Can't find him anywhere,
Can't you?
No, he's gone. Love to get him on. And somebody will come from Barnsley, but he's still round here somewhere. I think he's up Fernska somewhere. But I can't seem to find it. Him and Robbie Barrett seem to have disappeared.
Yeah, so I was on undercard of that, smallest of the small halls. I think I was getting 500 quid for a fight.
Did you sell some tickets on your first? Or we just going out there? You seem to me, you don't seem like the kind of, like the champions that we get on when you started. Because I look at your record and I think, he's the business here. And I always like watching you, Mark. Yeah. But sometimes, if I do speak to champions like yourself, even some that's not achieved as much as you in career, when I speak to them, they'll say straight away, I should have done more. I should have done this. I used to go out, I went out and I sold 300 tickets on my first. It seemed to me like you've gone out there and everything, you're just taking it all in your stride.
I wasn't a massive ticket seller at all. So I'd come from, I packed in boxing when I was 15. I went and started drinking and doing stuff like you do. I came back to boxing when I was 7. In that time, I'd started watching Leeds. I was going away, getting drinking, getting into... I kind of left... When I turned pro, I kind of left all my Leeds fans behind. I lived in Huddersfield. So my support, I didn't bring all them guys with me. I just had my family and my little clique, really. Came up through small halls, not really expecting to do that much, but... You're right, what you said, they built me up perfectly, really.
They did. I mean, your next opponent, to be honest with you, I'm going to hold my hand up here, and I'd still not know what his first name is. All I could find on BoxRec.
P.R. Mason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know his name. Paul Mason, I think.
Paul Mason. I know nearly all at Journeymen, but he's won. I mean, you fought him twice, didn't you?
Yeah, just a tricky customer from Ingle Gym.
Yeah. Also from Sheffield,
Yeah,
then?
from Ingle Gym.
Yeah.
Yeah. Journeyman.
But I can imagine he was different to Pinnock. I bet he was fast and... making you dance a bit. Typical Ingle fighter.
Ingle fighters are difficult to whip.
Yeah.
It was always a problem. I found it when I went over to Ingle's gym and did sparring with him, sparred with Johnny and stuff. It was a very difficult style to master that. Yeah. They're not getting it, but very difficult. They are, and they were known for it, weren't they? Yeah. Whether they had champions or they had someone week in, week out fighting as a journeyman, they all had that quickness about them, sharpness. You had to be on your game all the time with them, didn't you? But we're going to have to come on to one of my lads. I mean, you had a draw here with Colin Brown, mate. That was your first little thingy. Yeah. What happened here, mate?
That's a bit early on.
Yeah, we've gone up. It was in Irvine in Scotland. We
Yeah.
drove up that morning.
Yeah.
It was just a rough ass tough guy, and I wasn't ever at that time. I didn't ever consider myself like as a full-time pro. I worked. I always worked in between work, and it were always difficult to have time off, go up here, do this. You know, like it were. But yeah, well, I was learning. Yeah, it was
What sort of work were you doing?
debt collecting. I would.
You're not first debt collector we've had on, is it?
No, my dad was a manager of a bailiff company. He got me a job driving for him. I ended up, because of my personality, I can talk to people.
Yeah.
And I can get on all right with them. I could do job fairly easy. I want to bother when people stress out with me. You know, so I'd worked all the way through. I used to get good money doing it. I didn't need to box. Never did. One of the things with me with boxing is every single fight I had, I never saw 1 pence of that money. As soon as I get it, I put that money in my mortgage. It was maybe the only sensible thing I did. It went on all the way through.
Smart thing to do. Yeah.
Very smart, mate. I said that to a few lads. I say, drill it into all journeymen that I speak to. I say, if you're working full time and you're also getting a wage fighting, I says, there's no way that you shouldn't be putting your wage away every week.
How I lived my life for 10 years, really. I just got in that mindset. It ended up breaking me, really, towards the end because I was trying to do too much. It absolutely knackered me by the end of it. Like, when I go into, like, my last 4 fights, I was still working in between them. I've had 4 fights in 7 months.
Wow.
I'm trying to keep everyone pleased. All at the same time, I've got a boss who wants me to be at work. I've got a promoter who wants me to be here. I've got a manager who wants me to there. I've got my missus who wants me here. I've got my kids who want me there. And you're like, wow.
Sounds like this kid at music, to be honest.
You can do too much, and it's like, it just becomes overkill. And I should have, at that time, when I was fighting for these titles, I should have said, listen, I need to just concentrate on one thing. Yeah, I've got way too much going on here. And it ended up knackering me up, really.
So it sounds like it's drained you a bit towards Mark, but just listen, it sounds like at the beginning, when you started off doing it, when you were young and 21 and that, it probably took that bit of pressure off you, knowing that you weren't relying on boxing, knowing you had a full-time wage coming in.
It did.
Because like some fighters, it's when they turn over, they have to sell tickets, they have to do this, where you've got a decent job and boxing, you're just putting the money away. So maybe that was a good thing for you to start off with.
It was like I could do it when I was young. I'd done it all the way through when I was from being 8-year-old. I turned amateur when I was 8 years old. I've done all these nights. You go to school and you go to boxing gym every night. So it was kind of my life. It wasn't anything new to me. So I'd go to work, go boxing at night and do it. Eventually you're like, it adjusts, but you can only do it for so long. Yeah.
It can drain you, mate, can it? But come on then, I'm going to come on to my hero, Concrete Head. Old Paul Bonson, what an absolute tank.
Warrior, man. Yeah,
Tank.
Respect to him. He turns up. Yeah, we got that fight set. I didn't know a lot about Paul Bonson. I'd never seen him till we walked into the ring together. Still a short, stocky dude, an ex-rugby player. He got his head down and he just tear asses at me.
Yeah. Not many stock Concrete Head, you know. He was
just
an Iron Man.
That were it. He could just walk through everything I had. And I'm like, oh, all right. And he just kept going at me for 6 rounds. We had a great fight. It was a great first fight, that.
Yeah, you said it could have gone either way, that first fight.
Yeah, I think he thought he won it.
Yeah.
I thought I'd won it.
Did you put him down in first fight? Or?
No, it was the third fight with that.
So, do you know when you had that first fight? So, we might as well talk about all three of them quite briefly while we're on to Paul, because it's great to talk to him. So, when you fought him the second and third time, did you learn a bit from the first fight and knew what to do?
I was improving, and every time I fought him, I was a little bit further down. And by the time I fought him in third fight, I don't want to fight him because I can't stop it. It's going to ruin my career. I'm getting all these points victories. My mates don't want to come and watch it again. But it saved these shows. I was getting lined up to have these big fights, and they just kept falling through.
Yeah,
and he's a guy there who'll come in and let's get you on and still keep you on show. You still get paid.
Yeah.
The wheels keep turning. At time, you're like...
Yeah, definitely. But that's Paul's job, innit? And without these guys, the game don't keep rolling round, does it, mate?
No.
But like you said, it's frustrating with you because we all these pull-outs, but I don't think anyone wanted to smoke with you, to be honest, Mark, at local level.
It didn't, and it was
Nobody
hard to
wanted
get.
it.
There was hard to get matched with these fights because look, I was a guy they didn't need. I was tall, I was range, I could box, I could bang a bit.
I know you could bang.
Now then, but I didn't sell millions of tickets, and I didn't have a big backing behind me. And they were like, well, who needs him?
Yeah. Who needs your club?
You know, like I was talking to Carl Thompson once. He said, "Look, Mark, I'd fight you, but there's no money in it for me. You know, I'd rather fight David Day because I'm getting 25 times the amount of money. But so it all comes down. Well, is it just all about money?
Of course.
Or is it who wants to be? You know, like. But you've got to fight your way through mandatories, and that's how you got to fight them. So, like you said earlier, we were all on different TV channels.
Yeah. It's so hard to make them fights happen, isn't it? Too many people, too many middlemen to sort out, mate. But obviously, I'm glad we've talked about Paul a bit. I mean, I heard last time I heard he wasn't very well last time. I heard him. I hope he's okay.
Really?
Yeah, but that were a while ago. Peter Dunwell mentioned it. Is that he wanting? We were talking about a game on the show, and he said I'll have a word with him. Peter said he won't feeling very well, so I hope he's okay. I ain't turned now, so I take it he's still ticking over.
Paul, we became, you know, like. Obviously, we'd fight, you share an experience together. I got utmost respect for the guy.
Yeah, he's a right guy, old concrete head.
Yeah.
Powerhouse.
Hard as nails.
Yeah, 100%.
Hard as nails.
Yeah, 80, what do you have, right? He had 134 fights, right? He got stopped 3 times.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
I mean, so that put him down, so that should be proud of that, mate.
Yeah.
I mean, just stick him on his arse, mate.
This came from Joe Gallagher, not me. So Joe Gallagher had been talking to Bonson, and he'd asked Paul who hardest puncher had been, and he said me.
Yeah, did it?
That came from Joe Gallagher, not me. So, but
you were always known for banging, though, mate. Even on circuit, when I was younger, you always could back a punch, mate.
Yeah,
you were always at a puncher's chance, even if you.
It was something I developed when I was like 18 years old. I just.
You've either got it or you want, mate.
I was never really a punching. I don't know if you want it. We were kids, but I remember knocking my first guy out, and it was like, when I came back to senior boxing, it seemed like every time I touched them, they didn't like it, and I used to love it in fights because I was the one. They used to look at me. I look like a little baby. I've got no muscle, like I look like a Mexican fighter. You'd fight people like Bruce Scott, these big, solid, rock solid guys, and they think, I'll walk through him. And the look on their face when they realise they couldn't. After about 40 seconds, you crack them with first thing, and you can see that look in them.
Not you, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, all right.
Creeping in.
Oh, that's, yeah.
It's that moment of someone, you tag them, and it's like, shit, I didn't like that. I don't fancy that again.
They have a surprised look on the face, and it's like, boom. I could do it with first jab, so I had a world-class jab. My best punch, my jab. I had a world-class jab. I could flick it out.
It's a good weapon to have, mate.
And it was so quick, and I could get in people's range and do it.
And if you can ping them with a jab and it hurts, that is self-doubt straight away. Yeah. Because you're just chipping.
And if you could keep it coming, you're at the races in boxing. And
the opponent's going to be thinking straight away, if he's like buzzing me a little bit with a jab, what's he going to do when he lets one rip?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a right asset to have that, Mark. So we're going to talk quickly about, you knocked out Martin Jolly, didn't you? Somebody I'd love to get on the show, like Martin, not too far away. He was proper journeyman with Martin.
I think like size-wise, I was a bit bigger than him. Yeah. I was a young kid coming up. He'd been a journeyman a while there. I think, I don't want that smoke. Yeah. Great kid, though. Came and did it. I think he saved the show, came in that last night. Yeah,
that's what he's there for, innit? And I'm not surprised he didn't want smoke, mate. If I definitely pinged him with jabs straight away, I thought, he'll take the money and run probably, Martin. Top man. So then he went on with, you had Mark Snape, didn't you? And then you bet a Barnsley lad, didn't you? Danny Sutherland.
Danny Sutherland, yeah.
I don't know him.
I remember first seeing him when he was an amateur. One of the shows in Barnsley. He looked like an absolute $1 million. When we went to fight as pros, I probably naturally a little bit bigger than him. It took a few rounds though to get on top of him. Yeah, could fight a bit, could Danny? Yeah, good kid.
He's not somebody I've ever really heard of.
I don't think he did much after I beat him. You know, I don't know if he just disappeared after I beat him.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, you were his last fight.
Possibly. I never seen him again, but he could fight, could Danny?
Sometimes, but it might be different for Danny. Danny might have adapted to pros like some do, some don't they? But yeah, someone I've really heard on, like you said. But then we had his first real blemish, mate, didn't we? When we lost on points to Mark Levy, mate.
Yeah.
What happened? Where was this, by the way? Can you remember where it was?
It was Stacky's. It's a small hall in Bradford. Stacky's nightclub. Yeah, he were, believe it or not, he were taller than me. Mm-hmm. Over at Manchester. Yeah, he'd just outworked me a little bit. But I was learning.
Well, how tall are you? What are you, 6'4"?
I'm 6'5".
5.
Yeah, well, I used to be on a good day. I think I'm shrinking now.
I
think I'm sure last time I measured myself, I was like 6'3.5".
Yeah, you do.
But I think I'm shrinking a little bit.
You still look tall, mate. There's not many who comes in here who looks bigger than a Scarfe.
No.
So it was just one of them things. It didn't affect you then, mate. Again, it didn't sound like that draw early on didn't really affect you either. It didn't, did it, mate?
I was learning. I knew I was nowhere near a finished article. My coach knew I was like a little kid. When I grew up, I was a very immature kid physically. Amateur boxing, when I was in amateur boxing, it kind of evens itself out because you fight at same height, same weight.
Yeah.
But from 15 then, that changes because when you start, some guys, they've got an hairy chest at 15, 16.
Yeah.
Some of them, I don't think I had an hair on my bollock till I was 16. It was just how I was. I was just like a young kid. I turned pro at 21. Like a little babe, but I knew I was learning.
There weren't no alarm bells ringing with promoters then, or we Ashton or training when you lost that fight. They were still, whatever, we come back from this.
They were trying to teach me.
Yeah.
They were trying to teach me. I thought I knew it all with training. Chris, my trainer, my manager, Chris Aston, he'd come from a Thai boxing background. And they used to just train mad. To do these mad training. He could beat us at everything in gym, could Chris. And so, like, he'd set an example. And, like, he couldn't believe that we couldn't, train as hard as him or do this. It took years to master it.
Yeah.
And I knew I know when it happened in my career, everything clicked. It took years to do it, though. On the way up, lose a few here and there. Yeah.
Well, like, as we go on in career, you'll get to that and as you know, like, but after that loss, obviously, you went on, you fought Old Bonson again, didn't you, and Sitkin on points. You also, as well, between that, like, you had a knockout against Brian Gascoigne and Nikolai Ermakov, was it? Yeah.
Nikolai Ermakov, that were down at Nasbil. That were down at London Olympia when he fought that Bungu. I don't know if you can remember. He came in on magic carpet. He had P. Diddy in his corner.
Comment on P. Diddy.
Yeah, exactly. That hasn't aged well for him.
No, it can't, has it?
So, like, I'd gone down there. That was my first big show I'd been on.
Was it a good atmosphere, that, mate?
It was great, but I was on first.
Yeah.
The coach that were coming down, I was on before the doors even opened.
Wow.
So they came in on I think it was round 2. All my fans had got in to watch it. Stayed, obviously, there were Mickey Ward versus Shane Erion, Irish Mickey Ward.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a great bill to be on.
Did you watch it after?
Yeah, stayed and watched it with them all. Yeah, I was first on. They showed my fight on Sky TV as well.
Great.
So they were starting to notice me on Sky TV. So it was just starting from there. So, like, I'd obviously gone on with Matchroom and I've got Barry Earn and my old manager, John Salabansky, they were now being taken over, by Tommy Gilmore and stuff like that. So I was starting to get a few more doors open.
Tommy Gilmore were on Sky quite a lot, wasn't he?
Yeah. Tommy Gilmore, he had Derek Roach and a few others. So we had it was starting to happen there.
Yeah.
They were starting to look at me a bit different to these small laws, getting much smaller. They were starting to look at big shows to get me on and put him on these big bills. It was just starting there.
Well, if you're on that big bill with Naz, you're not Nikolai Hart. You know what I mean? You're going to get noticed, mate. Aren't you?
Yeah.
And that, let's see, sometimes you just need that opportunity, don't you? And sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't.
Yeah,
but it must be a great bill to be on that, mate.
Oh, it was great to be. Yeah, it was great to see them all. Like to be around Naz at his pomp. I mean, Naz was a phenomenon.
Yeah,
I thought. I mean, he would. To me, he's the greatest fight I've ever seen live.
Right.
Yeah, Naz. I think he underachieved. I think he could have done so much more. I remember seeing him the first time I seen him. He were like 13, 14 at schoolboy finals down in Derby. I remember, and he would just, you couldn't hit him with a bag of rice.
No.
But he didn't have that power then.
Yeah.
And then once that came, I mean, he was just a phenomenal fighter then.
I remember that
Obviously,
fight at Bungo,
I didn't know
actually.
Mickey Ward was at that time. Then he came on, did everything he did after he beat Shane Era, went and fought Gatti a few times. So, and then he did that film, didn't he, The Fighter?
Yeah.
And he became very famous, didn't he?
Yeah.
But
Shane nearly wasn't too bad himself either, was he?
great fighter.
Great fighter.
Yeah, great fighter. Them two, when they had that fight, I mean, they just met in the middle of the ring and they were trading body shots and it was a great fight. Yeah.
Go on, tell Scarfe who won. Because Scarfe will know the result.
What's that?
Mickey Ward stopped him. I think it might have been 8 or 9 rounds, something like that. Yeah, stopped him, caught him with body shot, double looked him, boom, dropped him.
He would have won one in some great fights, won he?
Yeah. Film that.
I ain't seen it.
I like it. What's his face? Bale.
Is it?
Christian Bale?
I think I've got that on DVD. I never watched
He's a
it.
fighter. That film. It's a good film. Christian Bale and
Yeah, Christian Bale. And
What's his
this, I think the fight that they start up is that fight. That's the fight that it's
I need to go. What? I know I've got the DVD, but I just think our George destroyed. One of them, our George, just when we were younger, just pulled apart through a cardboard sleeve, and I just think I've just left it there. So I have to get out there.
it's often on like your Netflix and that, so you'll probably be able to find it. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I've seen it a couple of times.
Well, that was a great one, and obviously one you can't remember very much. I did message Mark Lee Dawson, so you can't remember much about him, but you did KO him, you know, mate.
What? So where were that at then? Did you not
don't know.
Nah.
Probably Bradford knowing these.
I looked through box rec form coming on here. I'm like, I'm trying to remember these fights. There's just a couple of them on it. I can't even remember fighting them.
I'm going to guess Bradford.
Possibly, yeah.
Does it not say on
yeah.
It does on box rec, yeah, if you look. But I didn't. Sometimes Chris will look it up in a minute, like, mate. But then another one, Billy Bessie. I mean,
Billy Bessie.
Yeah.
No. So Billy Bessie was heavyweight.
Yeah.
I think he was ABA champion at the time. We fought down, I think it was in Leicester, and it was a 4-rounder. He did a Paul Bonson on me. He got his head down and he run at me.
That's Bessie.
And like, I was a small cruiserweight, really. To get through that manhandling bit, I mean, there's only 4 rounds to do it. My boxing ended up getting me through it, but he was a big dude, about 16, 17 stone, Billy Bessie.
Which one am I looking for?
Mark Lee Dawson, mate.
Barnsley.
Barnsley.
Oh, right then.
Wow.
Oh,
First round.
First round I did him. I'll have to message him again and see if he remembers. That's probably
That's
why
why
he
I
said.
don't want to comment.
That's why he said I don't want to pass a question on. That's what he said I've done with
I'll
boxing.
forget that one.
Yeah, I've done with boxing
Move
now,
on.
he says. Poor lad. I apologise for that, Mark. I really do, mate. But then, after Bessie,
Yeah.
we get your first chance at at the time, the WB roundabout. It was a big. It was a recognised belt,
Yeah.
but you know, Ricky Hatton and that edit, didn't they? And you know, it was becoming a bit of a belt that, especially on Sky, it was fought for. So at the time, it was a big thing to fight for, wasn't it? And you went in with Sebastian Rotherman, didn't you?
Rothman, yeah.
Rothman, yeah. And you lost to that, mate. What did that hurt you, mate? Did you think you were going to win that fight? Or
So it was a great opportunity for me. So I've come
was that on TV?
Yeah, that was on I think it was either Tuesday or a Thursday night.
'cause they
it
usually
was
are
at
then.
Liverpool Olympia, and they were showing a boxing.
I've got it here, Liverpool.
They were showing a boxing. I think it was either Tuesday or Thursday night. So they'd show boxing through the week. It was meant everyone watched it.
Yeah.
So like on a random Tuesday night, I thought it was just a great opportunity. I've come from the most I'd done was 8 2-minute rounds. They've offered me this fight, so Rothman had come over and beaten Rob Norton. He'd won this title.
Good fighter and all, Norton, mate.
So it got promotionally tied to him. So I was really the only other cruiserweight they had. So they've offered me, we weren't ready to do 12 3-minute rounds.
Big jump, that, mate.
Yeah, and I didn't, listen, the only way I were ever going to find this out was by getting in there and doing it.
Yeah. It's a good attitude to have that.
Yeah, I mean, like, my trainer talks about it now, like, we knew you weren't ready, Mark, but you have to find out somewhere where you are in life and you have to be shown it. We turned up there, he's a big dude, he's Rothman. I mean, he's from Pretoria in South Africa.
Yeah.
So they're 6,000 feet above sea level.
Wow.
He says they come down, when he said it, he said they can just go forever. When I look at him on video, I think, yeah, I could beat that. But I don't realise the difference between watching it and doing it over 12 3-minute rounds.
Long time, mate.
I think I'm handling myself fairly well in fight. He dropped me fairly heavily in 4th round. And I remember coming back to corner and me and Chris were still laughing about it. And I came back and he said, "You all right, my man?" I said, yeah, I'm all right. I've only got 2 more rounds to go. That's it. He went, Mark, what you on about? It's round 4.
Yeah.
I went, what?
Yeah.
I'd had 6 rounds knocked out. I mean, I thought
Yeah.
round 10. I thought, and that was a wake up to, holy shit, man, this is a serious game. Like, this is not a place to be, is it not boxing when you're underprepared. From there, I realised how far away I was. Doubled efforts from there. We started training more, training more on a weekend. Stop making shortcuts here and there. I'm getting up to I think I like 24, 25 when I thought, I'm like, look, I'm getting up to my prime of my life now. Let's get his heads down. If we're going to be a boxer, let's be a boxer. Let's do it. But I had to be shown it.
Yeah.
Someone had to show me, well, this is what actually a professional boxer looks like. You know, a true pro who does it and the training for 12 weeks. I trained 2 or 3 nights a week.
Yeah.
Do a few runs in the morning. I wasn't doing much different to when I was amateur boxing, really. But I was learning to do it rounds more. As I'm, in sparring, I'm learning to do it. From there, it takes a little bit of time from there. I mean, but you're learning all the way. That's how I saw it.
It's a big step up, mate. And credit to you for getting in there and, doing that. I mean...
To me, I did everything I could in that fight.
Yeah.
I know.
Did Mark pull you out at the end then?
Chris asked him.
Pulled you out.
Yeah,
Chris
he pulled me out around 10. I was getting beaten up by the end of it. I was, yeah.
You must have been drained then, mate. It must have been just everything just gone.
Well, like I said, it's an eye opener to this is what happens. Listen, this game is survival at fittest. So make sure you're fittest. How does that start? Start with that one there. It's so you're learning and the experience of doing it. I was becoming battle hardened, but it took time to do it. My body to fill out and do it.
We just answered my next question there because this is when your career gets a bit interesting here, Mark. And I was going to say this is where it's all clicked because after that you fought Farouk Aslan, didn't you, in Barnsley? And lost.
Farouk Aslan. So Farouk Aslan, I don't know if I'd had a shotgun in that run. In that ring, I'd have stopped him. He's a massive dude from Turkey. Went on to become, I think, a couple of time world champion after.
Yeah.
A really good fight, and I was fighting over 8 rounds at Barnsley. I'd won every round. He got stopped at the 7th round. He headbutted me.
Yeah.
He came down, he headbutted me. Back in them days, you get a cut, you can't carry on. You should just stop it and you lost. There was none of this go to scorecard thing.
It's frustrating, isn't
And
it?
I was like, so I just move on. I'm going to dwell over that too much. It's starting to, my record's starting to look a bit, there's just a few holes in it now. Where do we go from here? I've lost a couple on trot. I've been on Sky. I've lost a couple of fights on trot. What happens from here? It needed a bit, it needed the right building up. So we were trying to work our way into a mandatory, we're British. So I'm quite high up on British. I've lost to Rothman, obviously, if I was for a world title. So it didn't go against me too much. Lost to Farouk Aslan, I was winning the fight, lost on a cut.
So you have,
It's like, all right, it's not in the world. Like, who's next? Let's go for this British. So we were trying to manoeuvre ourselves into fighting for this British title.
Yeah. And this is when this was to me when it clicked, and this is when things started happening, mate, after this fight. I mean, it sounds to me like when you fought Farouk that things were clicking. You were going to win that.
It started after Rothman. I doubled everything up after Rothman. I was starting to mature as a man. I was becoming a man. I was coming up to 25, 26. I'd got man strength. It seemed to me when that playing field got levelled and I actually got that man strength with them, they didn't like it. And once it was there, I was at the races.
Yeah. And then, obviously, that's when we had this massive 10-fight winning streak, mate, with some absolute top quality names involved in this, mate, as well. I mean, it started off with Luke Simpkins again, didn't it? You fought him twice, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then the big one come, mate. We had Abdul Kadua for Commonwealth and British, didn't we?
Yeah. That was my first title fight down in Bridgend. I fought a guy, he'd come over from Ghana, this guy, Zimbabwe, I think it was. But to me, I could have beaten him on day one of that fight. So we've gone and had a vacant title down in Bridgend, back arse end of nowhere in Wales. It didn't really mean anything to me, if I'm honest with you. I'd won this title. I'd fought a guy who, I think Paul Bonson had beaten him. Yeah. Being honest with you, So they were steering me and getting me these belts. So it were trying to. I was like, well, I want to fight these guys. I want to be in these big fights. That's what I want. And like, listen, there's these big fights. There's a few people now in there. We've got Maccarinelli, we've got David A coming through, we've got Johnny, we've got Carl Thames, there's some really good cruiserweights here. I'm getting into the mix of it. Let's start mixing with these boys, but it's not that easy to get these fights.
You see, that were a big. I remember watching that fight. That were on Sky, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it were a big win, that, mate. I remember watching it, so I wouldn't.
No, I don't like it.
You're talking like it was like. To me, I thought that was a massive win. I thought that were a big. You know, that was the start. That was the start and the making for me, Mark. It really was.
I was clicking. I knew it. Yeah. I knew I was clicking, and I was wanting to show that. I wanted to be in these fights where everyone could go, "Oh wow," I didn't want to just be in a 2-round blowover where that what I were in boxing for, really.
Well, you see, to me that night for me, when my eyes opened, I thought he's done it. To me, mate, I enjoyed that fight, mate, and that's to me what I thought. It always stuck out to me, that fight.
So that was for British and Commonwealth.
No, that was just for Commonwealth.
Just for Commonwealth.
Yeah,
and I mean, I know everyone wants the British, but the Commonwealth's a special title for me too.
Yeah,
it really is. I mean, it gets undermined a little bit, but this guy's coming from Zimbabwe, aren't you? Sometimes when you're fighting these, when you've seen it happen many a times on Sky channels or whatever, sometimes you get these guys from Africa and Ghana and stuff will come across, and they're absolute world beaters, don't they?
Yeah,
and they surprise you.
Look, listen, on all these fights, you have got to be 100% focused in. And like, you build these guys up in your mind to be killers, and then when you get in there and they're not, you're like, it's kind of like, like it kind of
dealt with it, mate. Didn't you?
Yeah,
you just did it.
You dealt with it, and you always wanted to get on to prove 100%. Yourself in boxing. Yeah.
But I always thought that was a big win for you, that, mate, that Commonwealth title. I thought that was a start of good things to come, mate. You should be proud of that. And then you went in with a very, very good fighter in Rob Norton, mate, if you ask me.
One of my best wins in my career.
I agree.
Well, without a doubt, I mean, he was a phenomenal...
He would have fought British and Commonwealth, wasn't he, as well?
Yeah, I mean, he won the title. When I vacated, he won the titles, and he could really fight, he could really bang, and it was a very, very difficult night's work. I mean, I won it clearly on points, but I mean, that didn't read the fight, really. He nearly had me down a couple of times. You know what? He nearly did me with headbutts, He kept headbutting me. I got these massive cuts. They nearly stopped that fight on cuts in round 8. I remember him being in round 10, 11, and I must have had I didn't know where I was in fight. I got through that on experience of all these other fights that I'd had. They built me there, and that got me there. I could do it. I knew I could just hang in there and keep going. It took a while to do it, but I was starting to hit my peak round about then. On that night, I fought a punch-perfect fight, really. I was too quick, hit too hard for him, really.
It was a big win, mate. And like you said, you just said that there. I don't like to say this in a bad way. A little bit in your shadow. You went over and you did him, and then he come back after you moved up. Do you know what I mean? So that's credit to you, mate. And he was a really good fighter, Rob. And then another one as well, who you stopped as well. Tony Moran was a good fighter as well, mate.
Tony Moran, that was my first defence down at Huddersfield Sports Centre. So we got the.
Was it nice to go back home?
Oh, it was brilliant. And then I remember that night. That's one of my favourite nights if I go back and watch one of my fights.
It's got to be special, that.
He turned up. So Tony Moran is a big dude in Liverpool, is Tony. He works on outdoors. He was helping, I think it was something to do with helping homeless people. He got 1,000,001 people there. He had all these fans turned up at Huddersfield. It was absolutely pumping, this sports centre. It was live on Sky, and he just turned up and he just had it with me. And it was a great fight. We had 3 rounds of he was down a few times. His misses, when I knocked him out, it was the fight, I think it was like number 3 fight of the year. The knockout was number 2 knockout of the year.
I hadn't seen this.
Hadn't you seen the knockout?
No.
So I'd got him.
Please explain.
Yeah, so we've had 3 rounds. He was inexperienced compared to me. So we just met at middle at ring. I overpowered him eventually. I was on my A game at that time. So I just stood in ring. I didn't want to give him any chance, so I just jumped on him early. I knew he'd never been in a 12-round fight, nowhere near it, like I was in Rothman. But I've got that experience. Like I said, I'm becoming battle-hardened. I just stood on him. I had him down a couple of times at first time. He's just standing and fighting with me. He's giving everything he can. Third round, he's not got much left. I've followed him. I basically catch him with a big overhand right as he's throwing an uppercut, knocks him spark. He bounces under ropes. He's out. As that happens, I'm celebrating. His missus is looking at me side of the ring. She's screaming at me, pointing at me.
Yeah.
She jumps up onto the ring. This is all on Sky Sports. This jumps up onto the ring, security, because it's her boyfriend. Open rope for her, let her through. She don't even go to him. She goes straight to me. She swings at me. This is all alive on Sky. Swings at me. I've swayed out way. Missed this shot.
Still got it, Mark, haven't they? Yeah, still got it.
And so it ends up being a bit of a melee at the end of this fight. But me and Tony are still mates now. I went to see him a few months ago. I went up to Liverpool to see him. Yeah.
I can imagine Tony. Yeah, he always seemed He seemed like a nice, proper nice Scouser guy. You know what I mean? Down to earth guy.
Yeah, he's an humble guy. And when my son Liam, my oldest son, he carried my belt into the ring, and they message each other on Facebook. My son's been up to Liverpool to see him.
Great.
Yeah, and like he keeps in touch with them and stuff like that.
That's really nice.
Yeah, they're good guys, Tony.
Yeah, brilliant. And a good win mate as well.
Yeah.
Too. And obviously, I'm just gutted that I missed that fight. I'm going to have to cut that out now. I'm gutted I haven't seen that.
I need to do? I need to get all these fights on YouTube because I can talk.
Yeah, please do.
When I was just before the YouTube era and all these fights, I've got them all on DVD, but
Everywhere we have.
Me too.
Me too, right? He's got his own YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he gets somebody. He's got them all, and he gets some from DVD to upload them onto his thing. He'll say, if you look on my channel, it's uploaded. He might be able to do it for you.
Right.
Because, yes, I remember that Abdul fight and that. Cracking, and I never saw that one with Tony Moran. So, next fight I want to go on today, mate. This is a guy with one of the strangest records ever. He fought Lee Sobey twice.
Swerby,
right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to look at his record. Yeah, I wrote it down because I just thought it really strange. It must have been an hard works night for anybody, right? 25 wins, 2 draws and 29 losses. You don't get many. You either get one or other. You know what I mean? That is just a really 50-50 record, isn't it?
Look, Lee, from my understanding of Lee Swerby, he was... I think he came from a kickboxing background.
Yeah.
Hard as absolute nails is that dude. Now then, I'd sparred with him a little bit before we'd fought. Didn't think he was much of a challenge for me, if I'm being honest with you. We went into the first fight and he was anything but, man. He had me down a few times. I couldn't work him out. He hit so hard.
Yeah.
I'd cocked up with weight before the fight, and every single shot he hit me with it. That was a big learning lesson for me. That look, just because what goes on in sparring and things like that doesn't...
No, it doesn't, does it?
Yeah, got to concentrate and take things... So the second fight came up, he'd become mandatory for my British.
Yeah.
So I was British champion.
You went on points first, didn't you?
Yeah. He'd had me down a couple of times in that fight. I dragged my ass through that fight. I found a way to win, and I should not have won that fight. I was in disarray all the way through. Every time he was hitting me, I know I'd done a few things wrong in the build-up. Yeah. I knew I could rectify it. So they set the rematch up. I was the champ. Who at Huddersfield, he was very... So I think he'd started favourite. Yeah. Because of the first fight, I had me down. I was punch perfect that night. He didn't lay a glove on me. Absolute box rings round him. Showed the levels between it, I think. That was one of my best wins.
You stopped him, didn't you?
Yeah, one of my best wins. I just... It didn't hit me the second fight. Even my mates were thinking, I think they thought he was going to beat me if they'd come and seen the first fight.
It must have felt good, that, mate, because you must have put a few demons to bed there.
Yeah.
Knowing the first fight went like that.
Yeah, it did.
To go and do that the second.
I was starting to really believe in myself, like I'd come up through, like I said, small all boxing, and I was like, we were getting on this big stage. I was starting to become accustomed to it, and I was starting to realise actually what I'm dealing with. I can beat these guys, and I can do it well. And I've got to get myself set properly, and it can all go right. Once I was getting into the sway of it, like there with Swerby, I was punch perfect. Yeah.
So yeah, good. Like I said, it must have felt good, that, mate, to put them demons to rest after the first fight, mate.
Yeah,
And put it in the bag and move on.
We were rivals, me and Lee.
Yeah.
There were a little bit. I wouldn't say there were needle between. I didn't really have much needle with any boxers, really. It's just the business we're in.
Yeah.
You know, but he's a cocky, arrogant dude. He's like most boxers are.
Yeah.
You know, like we brushed against each other. You know what I mean? But
it was a really strange record. You know, you don't get many. You know, so many wins, so many losses. I mean, it's usually one or the other.
I think he took. Like I
Did
said,
he turn into a journeyman?
my understanding it was a bit of a journeyman to start with.
Yes.
Then he had a massive win. He knocked out Enzo Maccarinelli.
Right.
So Enzo was the big dude coming up through. He's gone down there, sparked him. He's turned his career out. For I can do this.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was him. Yeah, I remember watching that.
Yeah, so he sparked Enzo.
Great spark, wasn't it? And all.
Yeah, and he sparked. So I think he thought, I can do this. He ends up fighting himself into me and him fought. The first fight was for the number one contender for British title. So if he'd have beat me, he'd have been number one contender.
Yeah.
Vice versa for me. I ended up winning it. Fought Rob Norton, number one contender. Gets it. The rest is history. He carried on winning and fought his way back to being my man.
I totally forgot about. I can remember someone knocking him out early in his career, but
I
apologise.
So he'd gone from, I think, journeyman to being. He's a serious dude. When I fought him, I couldn't believe how he was hurting me. And I couldn't seem to, like I said, I'd done the weight all wrong.
Yeah.
Just learning. What happened in the second fight, I knew that could have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet as a nut that second, and mate, well done for that. And then, this must have been a big night on Sky for you, mate, against the monster himself, Bruce Scott.
Monster.
He is a monster, isn't he?
Monster. Yeah.
Huge animal. Powerhouse.
Would not want to meet him on the street.
Never. If he said it's Tuesday, don't care what day it is.
Just like, I mean, if he kicked off in a bar and you're a doorman, how do you get him out, man? He's a big, scary dude with Bruce. Jamaican Yarder.
Yeah.
Bit of a gangster. He'd won the Lonsdale belt and he had 3 wins on it. I was the same. Whoever won that fight between me and him won the Lonsdale belt outright.
Right.
So it were all set. He'd come up from London. It was Huddersfield. I was very confident of beating him.
For WBO as well.
I was very confident. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to stand my ground with this dude. I'm going to push him back. And I'm going to get set about him. First round comes in. He comes out swinging. He catches me in the first round with a body shot. It was like he'd stuck a knife straight through my ribs. From that first round, I changed my thinking. I thought, let me just box this guy.
Yes.
Let me just get through this fight. He hurt me that bad that after the fight. So I fought him on Mad Friday.
Yeah.
It's Friday before Christmas, down at Huddersfield Sports Centre. Everyone's out. You can't get a taxi. I think it's 2003. Everyone's out. Everyone's still partying back in noughties. Yeah. After the fight, they've gone through this rough ass fight. I mean,
you were a powerhouse.
He was a powerhouse, and it was dangerous every minute. But I could outbox him, and I got through it. Scrape. Could have done better. Maybe could have stopped him.
Yeah.
But when it came time to turn it up, I didn't have it. So after the fight, I had a big after party set up in Huddersfield. Gets to this after party, I'm sat there, I'm like, I am not well, man. I don't feel myself.
Yeah.
I couldn't get a taxi, it's Mad Friday.
Yeah.
One at Dorman ended up giving me a lift home and said, so I'm starting to be sick in this bar. I'm like saying, let me get home, see what's up with me. I get home, we end up going to hospital. So it gets me into hospital. I've told them what's gone on. I've been in this fight, blah, blah, blah. Put a camera down my mouth, stick a finger up my ass.
Yeah.
And like, they kept me in overnight and they said, when you watch the camera going down your stomach, it says, it looks like you've been hit and it hitting your spine, your stomach has split open.
Oh, wow.
With the power of him hitting you, my stomach has split on my spine. So he's whacked me so fucking hard, this guy.
He was strong.
It was one of them experiences where, like, and I know when it happened in first round. I've ended up doing 12 rounds of it. I've stayed out of his way for that reason.
The adrenaline must have got you through.
Yeah,
that.
it got me through. And then after the fight, it's like literally gone. But it's a rough ass box. It's a rough ass game. Is boxing. Yeah. He was a tough dude. I remember he come up with his brother yard is sat ringside. Yeah. Go on, Bruce, rass him, man, rass him. That's all you could hear all the way through the fight. And like I said, I'm glad I didn't have to meet him on the street.
But they're all characters, people like Bruce. You know what I mean? Over Mackenzie, what's same? You know what I mean? Dangerous all the time.
Yeah. What did you have to have out them for that?
No,
time thing?
Once they put me on a drip, I couldn't keep anything down. Once they put me on a drip, and I was all right. I was right as rain back morning.
Yeah,
man, yeah. They're like, I don't know what they did. It's boxing.
Yeah. And Bruce lived up to his name, didn't he? He were a powerhouse, mate, wasn't he? But great win, that, mate. And it must have been nice to get that WBU belt, mate, as well.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
Have you got that?
Yeah, I've got that framed up.
You've got to do it.
Yeah, I've got a couple of nice belts up. Something I'm proud of. That. Yeah.
Send a photo of them, mate.
I've got one. I'll show them you.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously after that, probably, I mean, we had 2 fights, didn't we, Enzo? I mean, the first fight, you lost on points, didn't you? Can you fill us in on that one first? Because I think that's one we need to talk about most.
Well, so I've gone for Bruce Scott fight. That's gone in December 03 or something like that. I've gone then 18 months of inactivity. Yeah. So I've had two fights with David Day cancelled.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
So in between, like, I'd got one at the first fight we were set up for the summer after with David Day.
You must have wanted to relish that fight, mate.
David had just come through. Had just been beat by Carl Thompson. I was British champ at the time. I've come through. I've just won the belt outright. I'm on top form. We set this fight up for summertime. I've gone down London for 6 weeks. Had 6 weeks off work. Gone down London. I'm sparring at Maloney's gym. I'm on fire. The story happens there. David Day goes, Sky TV come and film me down in London. Week before fight. I've got all Sky cameras there. I've turned over this heavyweight down in London. I'm looking at $1 million. We've got it all set up. I'm confident. Look, would sparred me and David Day. I knew the dangers of it. I knew he could beat me. Yeah. I knew how he could do it. So we were trying to work his way around. I think we had a good game plan. Anyway, so we've set this fight up. He's then had Sky cameras come up. He goes and spars with Tony Bellew. And David Price. Now they talk about Tony Bellew because he pulls out the next morning with David Day from that fight. This is the Tuesday morning before. Yeah, I'd had 6 weeks off work, and boxing seemed to, like, for 18 months I wasn't getting anywhere.
Time,
so I'm like in the prime of my life. I've just got my Lonsdale belt outright. I'm thinking everything should be happening for me. Yeah. I'm getting stalled and. We were going to sign a deal with Hennessy Sports. Literally, that next weekend, Frank Warren rang up. So we'd gone out of contract with his management then. Frank Warren rang up and they offered me 3 weeks' notice. I got Enzo Maccarinelli. So Enzo was supposed to be fighting Johnny Nelson at MEN Arena. It's on undercard of Lacey versus Carl Zager. They're fighting 3 o'clock in the morning. Big Bill, I'm chief support. I said, yeah, man, definitely, 100%, let's do it. Yeah. I always believed I could beat Enzo. Yeah. Always. Yeah, it wasn't ideal. Timing wasn't. But whatever. I'd been training. I'd had a couple of aborted training camps with David Day. It didn't like I'd been sat on my ass for 18 months. Yeah. Yeah, and we turned up. The fight happens. It's nip and tuck. Yeah. Yeah, like it's a great. It was one of the fights of the year. Yeah. Yeah, it did so much for me. It opened doors for me, did that fight. But it was a great fight. Yeah.
Like you said, you must have been just ready to go, mate, weren't you?
Yeah, I couldn't wait to get on it. We were on a massive bill. There were 20,000 people there. Yeah. It was a privilege to go down and do it. And then we turn up and you have a great performance. It opened doors for me straight away.
So it was a close fight as well then, wasn't it, mate?
I think he won by a round.
There you go then.
Yeah, it was
it's just tough. I mean, that's respect to you, mate, because at time he was quite a big thing at time with Enzo, wasn't he, at time? Yeah,
I mean, great fight is Enzo. Great, he can really whack. He digs it in. Yeah. I always thought I could beat him. I always thought I had the beating of him. There were times when I could have beaten him. It's like it did. He's a good fighter, Enzo. Really good fighter.
And then, obviously, you fought him a second time, mate. First round, mate? What happened? Just got you cold or what?
I've gone from... So, we'd fought Enzo first time. This was in March of that year.
Yeah.
So it was such a good fight. Frank Warren signed us.
Yeah.
So we said to Frank, I said, look, Frank, all we want to do is just keep busy, really.
Yeah.
So I fight Enzo March. June, I fight in Barnes, the Buster Keeton.
Another
the first fight. Now, so the first fight is in June with Keeton. It's a very heavy knockdown. He nearly knocks me out, does Keeton. I get up.
known for it, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I get up. I end up stopping him at fourth round.
Yeah.
Then I get offered a fight then in the September. So I thought March, June, September, I'm fighting for the WBU down in London. So I've gone straight, really, all back-to-back camps from
You fought that
Pavlovich down in London. So I've gone from that. I get literally, I've fought on the Saturday. On the Tuesday, I get a phone call off Frank Warren's guys. Johnny Nelson pulled out fighting Enzo again. Says, can you step in? It's 3 weeks' notice to go on another fight. So I've just fought 3 times.
Top fighters and all. I mean,
yeah, and you know what? When I look back now, my career ended because of it.
Yeah.
It's like I put all these fights, I had nothing left.
Yeah.
I turned up at that ring and I think a strong breeze had blown me over. But I did it to myself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like it were bad management. I'm getting offered fights and I didn't have the balls to turn it down.
Yeah.
You know, I've got Frank Warren as a promoter. I'm not wanting to let him down. Got all my fans coming. Don't want to let them down. Don't want to let Enzo down. Don't want him to think I'm a bit, instead of thinking about yourself, you've got all these different moving parts and you're trying to please everyone and do this and do that. Yeah.
But like the fights you got, Mark, as well, I mean, after you got Enzo, I mean, Buster, like I said, is dangerous, is Buster. And Pavlo as well. I mean, he'd been in with Price, Chris Hammer, Herbie Hyde.
That Pavlovich fight down in London, I mean, it was just such a tricky customer. I loved the Keeton fight because he just come and I liked it when you just have these wild fights. They're great to look back on. You know, like when you're a kid, I didn't ever realise I used to do this. So as a kid, like, I used to visualise. You know, like before fights, I'd sit down before fighting. I didn't realise what I was doing. I'd go through every scenario in my mind. And when you came to these fights, that's what you wanted. You wanted up and down thrillers. I wanted to be involved in that.
Obviously, at the time when you got that Enzo second fight as well, you touched on it there. There were a lot of needle at the time with Enzo and Johnny at that time because I think Enzo's camp were like saying back in the day then we had teletext, didn't we then? Yeah. You know what I mean? Teletext then. And I can remember reading bits like they were saying he were a chicken, Nelson, he didn't want it or past his best. And I mean, did that play on your mind a bit, thinking that you didn't want to think you were a...
But I was glad for the opportunity and I was kind of getting it mixed and I was getting on these big fights. So obviously I'd done the first fight. The second fight, I should have just... Listen, let's just chill out. I've just gone through these 3. That fight was always coming. But, of course, you're trying to get advice off people and it's like, look, it's for a real world title. This might not happen again, brother. Yeah, like, listen, life's about taking opportunities when they come. Everything might not be perfect. I knew we went into training camp. We were only doing a little bit because I knew I had nothing left. Now then, that's not unusual. When you're boxing, it's not unusual to be in a gym thinking you have nothing left. But it always seems to come back. Everything seems to come all right on a night. You have a few days off before these fights. It seemed to magically come back. It didn't. It's one of them things in life. It kind of ruined my career. You know, like, so I've done these 4 fights in 7 months. Now, somewhere in them fights, in the training camps, I've got damaged.
You're being burnt out. And
I didn't know this until I came back. I've walked out of the Enzo Maccarinelli fight and go, fuck boxing. I'm done with it. I literally had enough of it. I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm not. It'd been a full year of it, just non-stop train, fight. Like, look, when I used to have these fights, there's always a come down with them. You build yourself up to these fights, then he used to always, there'd be a come down, you get depressed for a few weeks. It's just a natural thing, you know. Like you go out and sports will tell you it's up and down. I never let myself recover. Somewhere in there I got damaged.
Yeah.
I only found it out. So what, I came back, I'm going to fight Buster again to get my title back.
Yeah, how did that come about then, the last fight then with Buster?
So I walked out of the Enzo fight. I said to my coach, Chris, I said, I'm done with boxing. Don't ring me. Thought it'd be a good idea then to I cut ties with boxing. Basically went on piss every single day for 1 year. Got myself upside down.
Yeah.
Chris offered me this fight. He said, listen, we can get your title back. Get a British title back. Let's do it. All right. They set this fight. So I've had about a year off from the Enzo fight. Went back training. I had 6 weeks training for it, and it was extremely difficult. I knew it was over. I didn't enjoy one day being in that gym. I said, like, look, Chris, when this is done, this fight, that's me done. I'm going to do this fight, that's us done. My love for boxing's gone.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't want to be here anymore. I was eating bags thinking, what am I doing? I'm like, I don't know. It had all gone out of me.
Yeah.
I went for a brain scan for the fight. So you have to have a brain scan every year. So I had one before the first Enzo fight.
Yeah. And you were due again.
I was due again to get this fight. It came back. They said, listen, we're not going to ban you, but you need to know there's been a change in your brain scan. At that time, I was having a few problems in life.
Yeah.
With it. Yeah, I was trying to, I'd gone a little bit crackers after boxing.
Yeah.
I just thought it'd be a good idea just to do a lot of things that weren't really good for me. I didn't look after myself.
Yeah.
At some point, somewhere there, I got some damage. I found out a week before the Keeton fight.
Yeah.
So I sit down with my family, like, look, what do I pull out now? I've come this far. I can get through this Keeton fight. I know I can beat him. I fought him before. I'm going to have to be smart. I don't need another knockdown like first fight. Let's readdress it, get through this fight, get out of boxing. That's what I did. Got through the Keeton fight and I got out of boxing. I knew it was starting to catch up with me, boxing. I knew it was. I had a couple of things when I'd been sparring with Clinton and it was an hard spar and I was driving home. I was just forgetting where I was going.
Yeah.
I'd forget where I was.
How old were you at this time?
29, 30. Yeah, I think I retired when I was 30 and it was time to go.
But like you said, Mark, I mean, you're a cruiserweight. The higher you go up, the harder the hit, mate. And
this is the thing with boxing, you know. It's like it just gets harder.
Yeah.
And like you think, when I'm British champion, I thought, everything's going to change. Everyone's going to be like dancing around to my tune, and I'm going to have a queue of people I can chew. It's not like that.
No, it's not, mate.
It's like then they just build up for another fight. Then it's someone better. And then you beat that, then you've got someone else coming who it's twice as hard. And you know, and there are all these problems to solve. You know, It's a great game, but you've got to be all in it.
You're either all in or not, mate.
Yeah,
there's no half measure with boxing, mate. But I think absolute amazing career, Mark. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, mate. And honestly, respect to you, mate. For what you did. I think you're a great career.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So I'm very proud of being British champion, man. I've got these Lonsdale belts to keep, and my family. It's for them as well. Like for you, it must be for my mum, my dad, to have it. Yeah. And it's like it was for as much as it was for me. It was for the people around me as well. Yeah. You know, like they all still talk about it now. You know, like I've got my mate who used to carry my belts into the ring and he's showing people in pub, look how we're on TV with my mate. You know, like it was a great thing for him. You know, like when I used to go fight, I used to have 6 weeks off before a fight and I wouldn't speak to any of my mates. I didn't want to know what was happening. I'll see you at end of 6. And then they'd tell you these stories about, I can remember when we went down to watch Oddball fight here, and they've got some great stories of all these fights they used to go on and follow me around. And I was part of it, but not part of it, if you know what I mean. I was seeing it from a different angle.
You were the main man, mate.
Yeah.
You were the lead role.
It's great for them to have that, you know.
I used to love watching you, mate.
Thank you.
It's like like you said, when we were in his 20s and that, mate, when I started getting into boxing, mate. You were around on that time, mate, and you should be very proud of what you've achieved, mate. You really should. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Yeah.
Anytime, mate.
Thank you.
Keep in touch.
Yeah, thank you, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
The Journeyman Cave is produced by James Proud. Music by Ryan Carrier. Special thanks to Rhythm Inc. Studios for hosting. All views expressed are of the guests only. The Journeyman Cave and host bear no responsibility for any opinions given. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter @The Journeyman Cave.